What's up, guys, and welcome to another one of Black Iron's battles. Today we have a 2 versus 2 quick battle from Total War Warhammer for you, where I have fielded the Greenskin army led by Grimgor Ironhide once again. As you guys will notice, I really do like bringing the Greenskins, and I do have a pretty typical standard army that I like to bring that you'll see for these first few matches. If you look at my front line, you'll see that I have a groups of black orcs. These are very strong units. They have 110 armor, 43 weapon strength, and they're just really able to take on anything that the opponent has to throw at them. On the sides, you'll see here that I'm protecting my flanks with 2 groups of goblin spearmen. They each have gold chevron or bronze chevrons, which are allowing them to hit a little bit above their weight. Any units which try to come around the sides will have to deal with these cheap goblin spearmen while then starting to take fire from my ranged units in the back. On the side here, I've got one goblin big boss. Every time, just like you should, you put him on a spider. When you put him on a spider, he gains a poison attack, and since he's already a great duelist, it does make him a great hero killer. When you take this unit and you put him on an enemy hero, he'll have no trouble slowing him down and keeping up with him and doing quite a lot of damage. You'll see here that I've also got a cool unit of Morgrub's Mangy Marauders. These Goblin Wolf Rider archers have armor piercing and they are mobile and they will just do a ton of damage. You'll see here that I've also got a Goblin firing line with the Rusty Arrows, which are an auto include with every ranged army. And you've got the Goblin archers on each side, which will just take a few hits and they'll provide some mass amounts of arrows if there's anything to shoot at. You'll see here that my Doom Diver catapult is already starting to take damage from the enemy artillery. However, we are all firing back, so we'll just see who can take out that artillery battle. We've got the 8 Peak Loonies here in the back, which is a really cool unbreakable group of Night Goblin fanatics. They've got a cool activatable ability where they throw out some dwarfs attached to chains, and the goblins swing them. It is just a super cool effect. If you look here, my partner, Fire at Will, he's brought an Empire army led by an Empire captain and also Balthazar Gelt. Now, when you've got the Gelt and he's on his flying horse, you know that the enemy is in for some trouble with with that lore of metal that he brings. Now, if you look here on the right, you'll see that we have some spearmen, we have some halberders, some great swords, a little bit more great swords, as well as a strong back line of silver bullet and 2 groups of handgunners. Now, anything that these guys start firing at is in for some trouble. It's very helpful to have against these dwarves since they have such high armor. This armor piercing value on these ranged units is going to really help us get a lot of kills. If you look over here on the right, you'll see that he also has a unit of Reiksguard and a second unit of Reiksguard. Now, these are great cavalry with 120 armor. They've got a high charge bonus. They don't have great melee defense, but overall they're able to engage and shock. They're also able to do a little bit of sustained combat before getting out. The dwarf player will want to be very careful that he doesn't bring these units around and take out anything like these grudge throwers that he has over here. Now, our opponents have also brought a Greenskin army. This army is led by Skarsnik with Gobla. He is just a super cool hero, and he brings quite a few different spells, and I'm sure later in the battle we'll get to see Skarsnik's hero eat somebody. Just like every other Greenskin team, he's also brought the unit of Rusty Arrows. Again, I'll always say it's an auto include. What is not typically an auto include is a unit of Orc Arrow Boys. These have a little bit longer range and do a little bit more damage in a melee fight than the typical Goblin archers. These actually will do a little bit more damage than you're used to seeing from an archer line of the orcs. In the back here, you'll see he's got the Black Orcs as well as the Crimson Killas. These Crimson Killas are super cool, 2-handed axe, dual wielding. These are the Regiment and the Renowned Black Orcs, and while I don't like to bring them myself because I'm not sure that they're worth the extra value, it is super cool when you get to see them in action. You've also got a Goblin Big Boss over here on the right, some Night Goblins up in the front, Regiment of Renown, and as well as look at these Night Goblins. It looks like they've put 3 gold chevrons on these Night Goblins, so these will be hitting a lot more above their weight than you would expect. He's got some cheap orc boys here for fodder. And we'll come over here and take a look at what the dwarfs have. You can see that they're led by a generic dwarf lord, and they've got a couple units of longbeards here in the back. They've got a little bit of artillery up here in the front with their grudge throwers, as well as another grudge thrower over here. Finally, they've got some miners with blasting charges over here on the left. And if you look in the back here, this is the main crazy part of their army. They've got 2 sets of iron drakes with trollhammer torpedoes and 2 sets of iron drakes without. Additionally, to protect those, they've got this unit of slayers here in the back, but this is a heavy firing line. It's very expensive, and they've got to get a lot of value out of these units to make up for the cost that they're going to have, because this front line of longbeards and miners is not going to be enough to stand up to some of these units that we have over here. Now let's go ahead and get this party started. Now if you look, all of the artillery has already been firing. There's been quite a bit of damage already done to this grudge thrower. There's been some done to these iron drakes, as well as they've done some to the longbeards. However, those dwarven grudge throwers have been firing back, which you'll see has caused quite a bit of damage to my black orc front line, as well as they've put a little bit of damage on each one of these groups of Doomdiver catapults, as well as this group of goblin archers. Now this artillery will continue to fire, but it looks like this grudge thrower, is starting to really take some hits from our artillery, and the sooner that we can get this artillery offline, the better. Now you'll see that my buddy fire at will. He's brought his cavalry around here to the side, and they're going to be in for some deep trouble if these Reichsguard get in here to mess up all of these different iron drakes, and they will take a lot of losses right off the very beginning. You'll see that the Greenskin player here, led by Skarsnik, is also moving up, but I have started to focus him with my Doomdivers, and it looks like we're starting to try to get some heavy damage on these expensive Crimson Killers. Now these units up front here are still hidden to me, so I'm not sure what he has to bring, but I am getting ready for whatever is coming my way. If you look over here on the right, Will's firing line is already starting to get some heavy shots on these longbeards here in the front line. And while they do have tons of armor and tons of health over here on the dwarf side, no units are going to be able to stand a firing line like this for too long. Each volley that's fired by these handgunners is just going to take out a dwarf or 2. Now you see they've already got 4 kills here, but each volley will take in additional couple units, and it'll start to soften them up for these greatswords which are getting ready to come out. If you look over here on the left, I've declined to engage because since I have this artillery, there's just no reason. We've managed to do a ton of damage to these Crimson Killers and already to these Orc Boar Boys, because, I mean, there's just nothing he can do to stop my artillery as it comes in. You'll see right here that Skarsnik is starting to cast a spell, and he's definitely got the Bad Moon Howling. But there's just not a lot it's going to do to stop these huge units of Black Orcs from charging these small goblin armies up in the front, and these Boar Boys, these Orc Boys, these Black Orcs are just going to tear them to shreds. If we come over here on the right, we'll see that Balthazar Gelt has dropped in to start killing Iron Drakes. The Empire Captain is over here, and there's just a ton of damage being done to all of these Iron Drakes. And while they are getting some shots off on those spearmen you saw, you can see that these units of handgunners are just continuing to fire into the dwarf army. And while this Silver Bullets does have 23 kills, they have 44 over here on this unit of regular handgunners, and they are just tearing through these units of Slayers and Iron Drakes and just anything that gets in their line of sight. If you see over here on the left, this Goblin firing line, as well as the Morgrub's Mangy Marauders, are continuing to fire into these units on the other squad. You'll see that he's lost his Orc Boys, his units of Rusty Arrows are routing, these Arrow Boys are taking hits, and it looks like we're getting some friendly fire actually from those Goblin Archers, so I've decided to move them up to try to do a little bit less damage to my own Reichsguard teammate. If you look over here, it is just a slog, but there is no way that these softened units of Crimson Killers and Black Orcs are going to be able to hold up against these fresh units of Black Orcs and AP Caloonies. you'll see that these units are continually losing health. They're starting to go down, and since they're surrounded like this and debuffed by Itchy Nuisance, they're not doing a lot of damage to my Black Orc front line, which is still eager and ready to do battle. If we come over here on the right, you'll see that there was a shot gotten off by those Iron Drakes, but these silver bullets are just continuing to fire in there. Those Iron Drakes are broken. These Iron Drakes are broken from the Halberders. Every unit of Iron Drakes is already chased off the field, which was such a significant part of the Dwarves' investment. It's sad for him to see come off so early in the match. If you look over here, you'll see that the few units that the Dwarf player has left have made a last stand here, but they're going to keep getting hit by debuffs, the Transmutation of Lead, the Plague of Rust. These units are going to start taking damage fast due to the debuffs that have been placed on them by Balthazar Gelt. And you'll see that there is not a lot these dwarves have left that they can do. As their leadership continues to break, when Gelt charges in, they have shattered, and there is nothing left for the Orc player to do in this battle. If you look over here on the right, the Goblins have also shattered. The combined ranged fire, as well as these cool swinging, these Goblins swinging the Dwarfs. I mean, there is just nothing cooler than that. You'll see those Fanatics, and there is just nothing left on the field. We have been victorious this day. If we go to the post-game replay, you'll see here my Black Orcs did a great job in the front line with 93 kills, 70 kills. That was taking down those Goblins, which were in his front line. They were no match for these strong elite units of Black Orcs. Additionally, you'll see that there are some kills by these Doom Diver catapults. I believe that they were able to get a little bit of hits on here and there, but they weren't able to do as much damage as I think that they would for their cost. You'll see that these Goblin Spearmen were able to get 60 kills. Now, somehow I've always got one star unit of Goblin Spearmen, so this will be the Star Goblins today. While I did give them these chevrons up ahead, they just were able to tar pit anything down and do a lot of damage for their cost. My buddy Fire at Will here, you'll see that his greatswords did very well. You'll see his cannon got 45 kills, but the real stars here were the Reiksguard. I really didn't show their charge coming in from the back, but they were just able to get in there, destroy those Iron Drakes, and they were able to do massive amounts of damage with rear charges, as well as these handgunners, which were just lined up and firing. I mean, they did huge amounts of kills, 63 and 60, against those heavily armored dwarf players. I mean, just these 5 units alone really did a good number of the kills for his team. Great game to my opponents, Kith Cannon and Chromac. You'll see that Kith Cannon with his dwarf army, his miners really didn't get to do much with those blasting charges. Since Will's units were mostly ranged and these heavy greatswords, there was not a lot he was able to do with this front line. And since this back line of Iron Drakes and Grudge Throwers was not able to stay on the field for very long, they were just not able to get their values worth of attacks. If you look over here at the Greenskin army, you'll see that Skarsnik did get quite a few kills, but since he was killed and sent off the battle, he was not able to keep the morale up of these other units, and they were not able to stay on the field for as much longer. That unit of Orc Boar Boys was not able to get a single kill, as well as his Rusty Airs. I mean, there was just some underperforming units on his squad. A lot of that was due to the artillery softening them up. These units of Crimson Killers, even though they were at half health when they charged in, they still were able to rack up 48 kills. Those are just, I mean, they're really strong units, but they just, without shields, they weren't able to do anything against those ranged attacks. He was able to rack up quite a few kills with his Black Orcs and different units, but it just wasn't enough. 722 losses to 319. There just wasn't enough kills for the Greenskin army to carry the day. I want to thank you so much all for tuning in. Please subscribe below for more great online battles. This is Black Iron, and I hope you've enjoyed another one of Black Iron's battles. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another one of Black Iron's battles. Today we have a Total War Warhammer 1 vs 1 quick battle for you, where I fielded the Greenskin army led by Grimgore Ironhide against my opponent, Cold Ass Honky, who has brought a Chaos army led by a Chaos Lord on top of a two-headed Chaos Dragon. Now for my Greenskin army today, I've brought a front line of Black Orcs. Now these are the elite of the elite Orc infantry. They've got 110 armor, they've got 42 weapon strength, and they're just able to take almost any other infantry unit that is thrown at them. Behind my Black Orc infantry, we've got the Rusty Arrows, which are Goblin archers, which have an armor sundering effect. Anything that shoots what these guys are shooting is going to do additional damage, which is why I've brought two groups of Goblin archers. These units are cheap and they typically are not as effective, but when you combine them with these Rusty Arrows, they're able to make a pretty good Goblin firing line. Over here on the left, we've got a Goblin Big Boss who's been put upon a spider. Now when this unit's on a spider, he gains a poison attack, he's a great duelist, and there is just a lot of things and uses that you can use this Goblin Big Boss for. Especially if these guys get on the ground, you'll want to use this Big Boss to slow them down and try to hold them in place while more units can surround and destroy their leadership. Up here on the hill, we've got the Hammer of Gork, which is a Goblin Rock Lobber, as well we've got a Doom Diver Catapult. Now I've made a huge investment in these artillery, so I've made sure to guard them with just two cheap units of Goblin Spears. If anything tries to come up the hill at these units, we'll go ahead and tie them up with these Goblin Spears, which will allow the artillery to escape farther up the hill. Here on the right, we've got two units of Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. The Morgrub's Mangy Marauders are the regiment of renowned Wolf Rider Archers, and they actually have armor-piercing missiles. These guys are very strong, and they're able to do a lot of damage, and they're mobile, which keeps them in and out of the back lines of the enemy, which you can avoid the shields, as well as a lot of the bonuses that you get for attacking from up hills and things like that. My enemy, he's brought a Chaos Lord on a two-headed dragon. This is a very cool lord. He's got both of the potions. He's also brought Foe Seeker, and he is ready to snipe out anything which gets away from the main body of my army. He's also brought a Chaos Sorcerer of Death on a Mana Core. It looks like he has brought Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna, so he'll be looking to cast Fate of Buna on my Black Orc lines, where it will do a ton of damage and keep Spirit Leeching Grimgore, so hopefully to knock my main lord off the field and to break my Greenskins leadership. Now it looks like his front line is made up of chosen warriors, which are the elite of the elite Chaos Warriors. They've got 120 armor, most of them are shielded, they've got high melee attack and high melee defense. These are just overall great soldiers to bring in the front line. However, they are very expensive. Between this and that Chaos Dragon, he is not going to have a lot more money to do anything with. He's also got Chaos Marauders with great weapons and Chaos Warriors with halberds on both sides. Now right off the bat, you can see that he's casted Spirit Leech on Grimgore. This is going to start doing a good amount of damage to my lord. However, in return, I've managed to cast Gorkle Fix-It on his heroes, and I've gotten my ranged units to surround and start to shoot as many arrows as I possibly can at his lords before they realize that I've brought this strong range contingent. You see that he's had to escape very quickly before taking any more damage on these important units right off the bat in the beginning of the game. You see that these shots continue in, and by the time this Chaos Lord gets away, he's only at half health. Now if you take an overarching look at the battle, you see that the front lines are engaging now. We've got the Black Orcs engaging over here on the left, but they're engaging 4 units on one front, which is giving the Black Orcs a little bit more time to fight back than they would have were he to bring the Chaos Marauders around here to the side. You'll see that he's brought in this Chaos Lord to try to drop in and destroy my front line, which has already managed to break his Chosen with great weapons. He's also brought his Chaos Sorcerer of Death in here, but you'll notice that they're starting to get shot by my ranged units, and additionally they're surrounded by these unit of the Warlord's Boys, who just broke, as well as Grimgore is in here, the Goblin Big Boss, and that Night Goblin Shaman. To keep alive, this Chaos Lord has had to pop all of his potions, and he is still broken. He does not have very much health left, but if you look over here, Grimgore is also taken down to about 1/3 health also. If you come over here to the left, you'll see that we have used those Goblin Spearmen to tie up a group of Chaos Marauders who are being peppered with arrows by these mangy Marauders and also these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. They are immediately broken, and that was my plan, was to hold anything that tried to come up this hill at bay while my archers destroyed them. It's nice to see it play out the way you planned. Additionally, it looks like he has broken a couple units of my Black Orcs over here on the left flank, which I am starting to lose. Now, it looks like the player is making a mistake here, because although he is cycle charging with that Chaos Lord on the Dragon and doing massive amounts of damage to my different heroes, he is starting to clump up his Chaos Chosen and his Chaos Warriors here. Now, with my artillery still firing off that hill, as you can see, the Doom Divers flying in here, you'll see that he is just going to start taking massive amounts of damage from these artillery up on the hill. But it looks like my Night Goblin Shaman is wavering and broken. Grimgore is only down to 650 health, and in comes this Chaos Sorcerer of Death trying to charge him, knock him down. He's trying to do as much damage as he can. Grimgore with 450 health is still standing, however, and providing wog to the enemies around him. If you look here in the front line, he's additionally broken my Goblin Big Boss with his Chaos Lord, who only has 62 health. If I am able to kill that Chaos Lord, that would be the end of this game right here. However, it is not the way it's going to be. That Chaos Lord on that dragon did a huge amount of damage to his Goblin Big Boss and broke him immediately. And although this Chaos Lord is also broken, these two units may have a little bit more fighting left to do in their futures. As you can see, these artillery just continued to come in here, as well as these archers up on the hill have just been shooting the entire match. He did not have enough mobility with his army to deal with the ranged threats that the orcs brought today. The only major unit he has remaining is this Chaos Sorcerer of Death, which only has about half his health remaining, and while he's trying to cycle charge on these Night Goblin Shamans, each unit of Chaos Chosen is broken. This unit over here of Chosen is broken, and it looks like there's not a lot of units remaining for the Chaos team. With only 180 units left to my 671, the Greenskins are just going to carry the day. That was a great match to my opponent, Cold Ass Honky. Let's go ahead and take a look at the post-game report. Now, if you look here, the first thing that pops out to me is these two artillery pieces got 150 kills between them. If you add that into this unit of Mangy Marauders, who was a champion with 44 kills, you'll see that that's almost 200 of the 450 losses by these three units alone. I call that a great bang for your buck. Additionally, we got these front line of Black Orcs, which managed another 100 kills. This unit of Black Orcs is definitely a champion with 67, and you'll see that even the Goblin Spears got a few kills each, 43 on this Goblin Spears, which outperformed some of these other units. However, those were probably on the weaker Chaos Marauders from the other team. If you look at his team, you see that his Chaos Chosen just did not do well this match. For the cost of a Chaos Chosen, there's really a niche unit, and having an entire front line of them is really not the best case if someone is able to disable your leadership and keep them from harassing. As you can see in the beginning with that slow cast with Gorkle Fix It, cast by the Night Goblin Shaman, I was able to keep his ranged units from staying in the air too long and picking off my individual weak units. This allowed this artillery just to smash in and overall carry the day. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please subscribe below for more great online battles. This is Black Iron, and I hope you've enjoyed another one of Black Iron's battles.